Let me bring in Dhirendra Kumar, the CEO of Value Research in our in-house mutual fund expert, who joins us on the show every week. Dhirendra, thank you so much for joining us. Let's get straight to our portfolio versus portfolio question. Well, Nikita has written in. She and her husband are 33 years old and they want to accumulate a corpus for their 2-year-old daughter, and they have a 16-year horizon. Now, she tells us her target is 25 lakh rupees, which is today's amount, and she wants to factor in about 10% in inflation. That should take that amount, according to my calculation, to roughly about 1 crore and 14 lakh rupees. Now, Dhirendra, she's investing 10,000 rupees every month in SIPs. She wants to first understand if this money is enough. 10,000 rupees a month in SIPs, what do you think over the next 16 to 18 years, what sort of a return can she expect from her equity investment?
It should be enough, or it should be very close to being enough, because, the market returns can't be predicted over such a long period of time. But assuming that we earn 2/3 of the return that we have got in the past 10-15 years time frame, or if we get a 50% premium to the prevailing, fixed income rate that we get, it should be reasonably close. If her money earns 15%, then the accumulation will be 80 lakh rupees. If it earns 18%, then it will be close to, 1 crore 15 lakh rupees.
If we look at her portfolio, she's allocated it quite carefully. She has Franklin India Blue Chip and HDFC Top 200. She has Axis Long Term, IDFC Premier Equity and the Kotak Gold Fund. I'm going to come to the Gold Fund in a little while. I want to ask you about the Axis Long Term Fund. What's your view on that? There's about 10% of her money going into that fund.
A relatively new fund, not a outstanding fund, but not a disappointing fund either. And I think it has to prove its case. Of course, the fund is managed by people with long experience. So I would say that it is early days, but it is not a disappointing choice so far. So give it a chance, and maybe all other funds make me think that it's a reasonably growth-oriented portfolio. I don't see that as you said that we'll talk about the gold position. I also feel that it's out of place. If something has to beat inflation and grow rapidly, which is her goal, then gold doesn't fit into this plan.
So is that the only change you'd like to make, to remove the gold fund? What would you like to replace it with?
I would not like to replace it with anything. I would say that given that this is 15-16 years of time frame available for this portfolio to accumulate, there could be a larger allocation to maybe the Axis Long Term Equity Fund and IDFC Premier Equity.
Right, Nikita, you can get back in touch with us if you need any more help. Dhirendra, we have a question from Dr. Ravi Mathani. He's 49 years old and he plans to retire in 15 years. Now, he tells us, on your website, you categorize HDFC Prudence as a risky fund, even though it is a balanced fund. And you also have HDFC Balanced, which you say is a safer bet. Now, for someone like him who's going to retire in 15 years, which of the two would you recommend?
We are very clear in our views that HDFC Prudence can prove to be a very disappointing fund if we ever face a lean time. And that is something which many investors are unable to reconcile with or absorb, and that creates a lot of anxiety. HDFC Prudence numbers are very compelling on a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year basis, but HDFC Balanced is not a bad bet. It will be little lower on return, but it will not give you that kind of anxiety. Similar funds with greater stability, I would say a UTI Balanced Fund or a DSP BlackRock Balanced Fund, they are just as good.
Dhirendra, we have a question from Naresh Kulkarni, who's written in. He's 24 years old. He tells us he hopes to buy a home soon and he wants to build a corpus of 25 lakh rupees in the next 5 years. Now, he sent us his portfolio and he wants to know if this is the portfolio that will help him get onto the right track. Now, the interesting thing about his portfolio, and the reason why we've picked it to talk about it this week, is that all of the funds he's picked are very strong funds with nice track records, funds that we normally recommend on this show, but they might not be the kind of funds that you should have if you only have a 5-year horizon. He has IDFC Premier Equity, ICICI Prudential Focus Blue Chip, UTI Opportunities, SBI Magnum Emerging Business and Kotak Gold. Now, these are all strong funds, but should someone who only has 5 years be using these funds for his portfolio?
For a portfolio like this, even though the fund, the fund which he has selected are very impressive fund, but 3-year time frame is just not enough for him to accumulate and plan. At a very fundamental level, I think that 8,000 rupees investment and he's trying to accumulate 25 lakh rupee, I don't think it is a reasonable expectation, because 1 lakh rupee contribution in a year. So I think your expectation is unreasonable, and it is unlikely to be met. And even if you get very lucky, I think to do this over the next 3 years and exiting methodically can't be implemented. So one is that think of a different budget or think of higher savings or longer time frame. One of this has to give in.
All right. So the thing that you have to remember, Naresh, is first of all, you will not make 25 lakh rupees in the next 5 years because your contribution will not allow you to reach that target. You need to either bring down the target or, better still, extend that time horizon to even further. Is there anything you would recommend he does with his money right now, or should he continue to stay in the portfolio that he has?
I would say that he should work towards increasing his income and saving more. He has chosen good fund, and he should elongate his time frame. Instead of buying the house in the next 5 years, he should consider buying it after 7-8 years. And continue with it, because he has chosen very good funds. They can actually prove to be extremely rewarding if we see a market turnaround.
All right, so stay with the same portfolio, try and extend that time horizon. It'll be able to do more justice to the good funds that you have picked. Amarkant has written in, Virendra, he's been recently blessed with a baby girl. Congratulations, Amarkant. He wants to start investing in a gold ETF for her. He wants to know what's the right way to do that. Is there a particular way he can choose one ETF from another? And should he start an SIP route or use a lump sum?
ETFs are alike, and so are the gold funds. The only difference is that when you buy ETF, you need a demat account and you have to go and place your order with a stockbroker. It's little cheaper. And when you buy a gold fund, it's little simpler. You don't need a demat account. And the performance of all the ETF actually works. They all perform in a very narrow range. The difference could be 10 or 15 basis point. You can just toss and choose any gold fund.
All right, so gold ETFs are largely the same, irrespective of which one you invest in. Remember, it does make sense, of course, to use an SIP. Virendra, thank you so much for joining us on Investor's Guide and answering our questions.